Hello and welcome back. It is so good to have you with us again for Tech Talks with Kinsoft.
It's great to be back.
Today we're trying to make sense of the pretty complex and sometimes, frankly, scary world of technology.
And looking at what we're covering today, scary might be the right word, though hopefully we can steer it towards empowering by the end.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Usually I like to ease into these discussions. A fun fact, a bit of history, something relatable.
Yeah.
But looking at the sheer volume of reports from late 2025 and early 2026, I just don't think we have that luxury. We kind of need to just rip the Band-Aid off.
It is looking pretty severe out there, isn't it? I was just reviewing the data for October 2025, just 1 month.
Yeah.
Globally, we saw over 193 million records compromised.
Wow. 193 million. It's hard to even visualize that.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, especially for our listeners here in Australia, there can be this sort of island mentality.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a U.S. problem. That's a European problem. We're tucked away down here.
But we are squarely in the crosshairs. And what's really alarming about this wave of breaches is just the diversity of the targets. We're not just talking big banks anymore.
Right.
We're seeing recycling plants, universities. It creates this sense that the threat landscape, to use the jargon, is, well, it's everywhere.
And that's our mission for today, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're not here to just list off scary stats and make you want to throw your phone away. We want to unpack the who, the how, and maybe most importantly, the why. Because if you can understand the mechanics, you can move from panic to strategy.
Exactly. Panic paralyzes. Awareness empowers. That's the goal.
So let's get into it. I want to start with a case that really challenged my own assumptions about who gets hacked. It wasn't a bank. It wasn't a tech company. It was a company called Benedict Industries.
Yes, the Benedict Industries breach. That one surfaced around October 10th, 2025.
So for anyone who doesn't know the name, Benedict is a recycling, landscaping, and civil construction company in New South Wales.
Based in Belrose.
They deal in sand, soil, gravel. I mean, feels like the most physical, analog business you could possibly imagine. And yet, this hacking group, INC Ransom, claimed they stole 270 gigabytes of their data.
This is the perfect example to dismantle a really dangerous myth.
Which is?
The myth that my business is too boring to hack. I hear it all the time from business owners. I sell dirt. Why would an international cyber gang care about me?
Well, that seems logical on the surface, doesn't it? If I'm a hacker, I want credit card numbers or state secrets, not, invoices for gravel.
That's the movie version of hacking. In reality, these groups run like businesses. They want leverage. And while Benedict Industries might sell sand, they employ people.
And that means they have HR data.
Exactly. When you look at what was stolen, it wasn't blueprints for a quarry. It was payroll data, workers' compensation records.
And there was one detail in the report that really it turned my stomach. They access details of employees' child support deductions.
That's the detail that changes the whole conversation. It shows the granularity of the extortion. It's what we call PII, personally identifiable information, to a cyber criminal that is liquid gold.
But why is that gold specifically? Is it just to embarrass people?
Embarrassment is part of it, sure, but it's more about utility. You can change a credit card number, you can change a password, you can't change your child support history or a workers' comp claim.
That data is permanent.
It's immutable. It allows for identity theft that can last for years. So it doesn't matter if you run a local bakery or a billion-dollar tech firm. If you employ people, you hold high-value data.
So INC Ransom gets this data. What's their play? Do they just sell it on the dark web, or is it a more direct squeeze on the company?
Well, INC Ransom is a big fan of what we call double extortion.
Okay, let's pause on that. Double extortion. What does that actually look like for a business owner?
So step one is the classic ransomware move. They encrypt your systems, your screens go black, you get a scary note, operations stop.
Which is bad enough. It shuts the business down.
Right. But companies started getting good at backups. They'd say, fine, encrypt it, we'll just restore from yesterday. So the hackers evolved. Step two, the double extortion, is stealing the data before they encrypt it. Then they say, if you don't pay, we won't just keep your files locked, we will publish them to the world.
Which they did. In the Benedict case, they actually published it.
They did, October 9th and 10th. And that puts the victim in an impossible position. Even if your IT team is amazing and restores your systems, the privacy of your staff is already gone. It's a checkmate.
So the technical fix isn't enough. It's a PR crisis, a legal crisis, all at once. Speaking of pressure and vulnerable groups, let's pivot to another sector that was just besieged in late 2025.
Education.
Oh, the education sector has become one of the top targets for these groups. Absolutely.
We have to talk about Western Sydney University. This story is just wild, not just because of the breach, but the timeline. The access actually happened between June and September 2025.
That's right. A really sustained period of access. But we didn't hear about it until October. Now, usually when a company hides a breach, there's public outrage. But in this case, the delay was requested by the NSW police.
Correct. And that's a fascinating wrinkle. The police were actively monitoring the perpetrators inside the system. It wasn't negligence. It was an active law enforcement op.
Which makes sense.
Right.
But put yourself in a student's shoes. You find out months later your data was taken. And it's not your grades. It's tax file numbers, passport details, health information.
For about 10,000 students and staff, that's a small town's worth of sensitive data.
And this is where it gets really dark. The fallout wasn't just data theft. The hackers used that data to launch a psychological attack.
You're talking about the phishing campaign that followed.
Yes. Students started getting emails using stolen contact info, claiming their degrees had been revoked. Imagine getting that email during exam week.
It's incredibly sophisticated social engineering. They used real student IDs, real course names. It just creates chaos. And this raises an important point about why universities are such juicy targets. Think about the demographic.
Young people.
Exactly. 18 to 22-year-olds. They usually have thin credit files. Their credit history is a blank slate.
So they're a blank canvas for fraudsters.
Precisely. It's a goldmine for identity theft. You could take out loans in their name for years before they'd even notice because most students aren't checking their credit reports.
That's terrifying. And it wasn't just WSU. There was the VKeyTrack incident around the same time.
Correct. And VChark shows us a different kind of vulnerability. They're a software provider for student management. When they got hit, it caused a nationwide outage.
So this wasn't just one school.
No. Hundreds of training organizations across the country couldn't access their own data. They couldn't mark attendance, couldn't issue certificates.
It really highlights that ripple effect. One provider goes down, and an entire industry is in the dark.
That's the perfect segue to what I think is the most critical theme of late 2025, the supply chain risk, or as I like to call it, the Trojan horse.
The Trojan horse. I like that, because when we look at the headlines, we see big names, Qantas, BMW. These are massive corporations with huge security budgets. How are they getting breached?
They're not getting breached through the front door. They're getting breached through the service entrance, through the vendors they trust. Let's look at Qantas.
The breach in mid-2025, 5.7 million customer records.
That's the one. But Qantas itself wasn't hacked. Their own servers were secure. It was a third-party contact center, a company they hired to handle calls that was compromised.
So you hand over the keys to the database, and suddenly 5.7 million frequent flyer numbers are out in the wild.
Exactly. It's like installing a bank vault door on your house, but giving the spare key to a dog walker who leaves it on a park bench. The attackers, a group with the bizarre name Scattered Lapsus Hunters.
Sounds like a bad 90s band name.
It basically is. It's a mix of members from older groups. They declared a war on Australia, and their method was to hit the supply chain. Qantas can have the best firewall in the world, but if their vendor has a weak password, the data is gone.
Same story with BMW, right?
Yes. September 2025. 600,000 lines of audit data leaked. Again, not BMW's servers, but a third-party provider.
So what does this mean for a business owner listening? If you can't trust your vendors, who can you trust?
It means the whole concept of perimeter security is dead. Your security is only as strong as your least secure vendor. The stats show that 60% of major breaches in late 2025 involve third parties.
60%, that's a clear majority.
It is. It means you have to audit your partners as rigorously as you audit yourself. You have to ask the hard questions before you sign the contract.
I want to zoom out a bit and look at the who behind this. We mentioned INC Ransom and the Scattered Lapsus Hunters. It feels like there's a new gang every week.
It's a crowded marketplace. We saw activity from Quillen, Medusa, Lynx. They're all competing for market share.
And no industry is off limits. We've talked construction, education. But healthcare took a real beating. Genie IVF, 940 gigabytes stolen.
That one is particularly distressing. We talked about PII. But IVF treatment data, that's so incredibly private, so emotional, to have that exposed is a violation on a whole different level. It's just cruel.
And then the legal sector. Kelly Legal, Bryden's lawyers.
Lawyers are a prime target. They hold everyone's secrets, but they also can't afford downtime. Time is literally money for them, so they're statistically more likely to pay a ransom quickly.
There was also a really concerning case with Dodo and iPrimus in October. This wasn't just data theft. It was a functional attack on our infrastructure.
Yes, the SIM swapping attacks.
Can you just explain that? I think people hear SIM swap and think someone physically stole their phone card.
It's purely digital. The hackers got into customer email accounts. Then they just contacted the telco, pretended to be the customer, and asked to move the mobile number to a new SIM card that the hacker controlled.
So my phone suddenly goes dead, and the hacker's phone lights up with my number.
Exactly. And they want your number for one reason, for two-factor authentication codes.
Oh, wow. So when my bank sends a code to my mobile, it goes straight to the hacker.
Correct. It completely bypasses the security we all rely on. It's a direct attack on identity verification.
It's terrifyingly clever. But, as we talk about these sophisticated groups, there's another stat you highlighted that caught my eye. 37% of notifications to the regulator were just human error.
Yes. We cannot forget the human element. We worry about these cyber gangs, but a huge chunk of breaches happen because someone CC'd the wrong person, or left a laptop on a train, or clicked a bad link.
The oops factor.
It is. And in the industrial sector, that oops can stop physical production. Look at Jaguar Land Rover in the UK. Cyber attacks stopped the assembly lines. This is where IT meets OT, operational technology. When the computers go down, the factory stops.
Okay, I feel like we painted a very grim picture. It feels like the Wild West. Please tell me there's a sheriff coming to town. Is anyone fighting back?
There's absolutely pushback. The government and industry are waking up. October was Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and we saw some really significant policy shifts.
I saw we have a new cyber incident review board. What's their job? Just handing out fines.
Quite the opposite, actually. Think of them like air crash investigators for cyber attacks. They do no-fault reviews. The goal isn't to punish the victim. It's to learn from it so everyone else can be prepared.
That's crucial. Because usually companies just want to hide it so no one learns a lesson.
Exactly. We need to share intelligence. We also have a new ambassador for cyber affairs, Jessica Hunter. She comes from an intelligence background, which signals the government sees this as a national security issue.
So if I'm listening to this, what's the mindset shift I need to make? What's the strategy?
You need to move away from just protecting the perimeter. The old model was building a high wall. The new mentality from the Essential 8 framework is assume compromise.
Assume compromise.
Yeah.
That sounds pessimistic.
It's realistic. It means assume they're already in or they will get in. So do you have the systems to detect them? Can you limit the damage? Are your backups offline so they can't be encrypted too?
So it's like having motion detectors inside the house, not just a lock in the front door.
Precisely. Because with the rise of AI, that front door is getting a lot harder to defend.
How is AI changing the game?
Well, generative AI lets hackers scale up phishing attacks. You know those scam emails full of typos? The "Dear Sir, I am a prince" ones.
The ones that were easy to spot.
Yeah. Well, now AI writes perfect, persuasive, context-aware emails. It can scrape your LinkedIn, so you just went to a conference, and write an email saying, "Great meeting you there. Here's that file we discussed."
So that 37% human error stat could go way up if the scams get better.
It absolutely could, which is why training and culture are just as important as firewalls. You need a culture where people aren't afraid to ask, does this look right?
It really is a constant evolution.
It is. But I want to emphasize, it's a race you can survive. It's about resilience, not invincibility.
That's a great way to frame it. Resilience. Whether you're a recycling plant or a university or an airline, the reality is clear. Data is currency.
And your supply chain is likely your weakest link.
And navigating this isn't something you can just do on the fly. It requires expertise, strategy, and honestly, it requires help.
Absolutely. You don't want to wait until you're a headline to start thinking about this. The cost of prevention is just a fraction of the cost of recovery.
That is the truth. If you're listening and thinking, I don't know if my vendors are secure, or I don't know if we could spot an intruder, you need to bring in experts. We highly recommend you head over to www.kinsoft.com.au.
That's www.kinsoft.com.au. They can help you discuss your security and IT needs and make sure you don't become the next case study we talk about on this show.
Exactly. Don't be the boring business that gets hacked. Be the boring business that stays secure.
I like that. Security should be boring. Boring is good.
Before we go, here's a thought to leave you with. We've talked about data theft and encryption, but when attackers start messing with SIM cards and launching psychological attacks, we have to ask, what happens when the goal isn't just to steal your data, but to make you doubt the data you still have.
That's a chilling thought. The integrity of reality itself becomes the target.
Something to mull over. Thank you for joining us. This has been Tech Talks with Kinsoft. Stay safe out there.
Goodbye, everyone.